This is the Ironmind Rolling Thunder, but if you have done any searches on the internet for how to improve your grip strength, you've already seen this. This particular model is from earlier this year. It's a 2018. A fine year. But it actually was invented about 25 years ago by Ironmind. Throughout the years, it's gone some model changes, some upgrades. Used to have black plastic sleeves on the end of it. The V-shaped handle stayed pretty much the same. The end caps are nice and new. Check out the aesthetics. It's nice. And as I mentioned before, you can really smell the tannins. While not the most incredible Rolling Thunder lifter in the world, my current PR is only around 100 kilos compared to the world record of 130 kilos. I can tell you that over the last 4 months, I've put 15 to 17 kilos on my 1 rep max through a type of programming that I'll discuss with you later on in this video. And I'll also put up a free 6-week program at the bottom of the screen there. First, what is this thing? Why do I need this? Where did this even come from? How did this come to be on this earth? Well, the handle is about 2 3/8 inches thick, or about 60 millimeters. It's made from a plastic-coated PVC. You can tell it's pretty shiny there. And the way to tell it's the real thing is, one, check the insignia. Ironmind, that's the real deal. Got those awesome aesthetic stickers that smell good. And you know it's a good one if the V handle drops under its own weight. If it rolls freely like that, then you know you got a real deal and that it's not all gunked up with chalk. If it does get gunked up with chalk, you can do the old Nintendo cleaning cartridge system where you just go 1,000 times until all the chalk dust comes out. This one's pretty new, so it's not going to make a difference. But if yours is all gunked up and it just kind of like sticks there without rolling, then give it the old Nintendo cartridge blowout and see how that works. While Ironmind wasn't the first to invent the revolving handle for use with single arm deadlifts, it was the first to create a tool that mimicked the training required to lift the Thomas Inch dumbbell, which, as you may know, also is this 172-pound globe-style dumbbell with a 2.5-inch thick handle. So right away, you're not going to walk up to this dumbbell and pick it up with one hand unless you're like the upper echelon cream of the crop on the very first try. What do? We invent a revolving handle with a similar diameter, an easy way to attach weights, and a loading pin. Where's the loading pin? Loading pin. Weights go here, hand goes here, weight goes up. Pretty easy. So now it's time to train with the Rolling Thunder. How do you begin? First, we're going to take what we call a legal grip over the handle. And if you're going to be doing any competitions with grip sport or arm lifting, you're going to want to know how to hold this thing. It's simple enough, right? You just grab it. Well, we want to make sure that when you grab it, there's still some visible handle on either side of your hands. If your hands are thick enough to fully engulf an 8-inch wide or 7-inch wide, I can't tell how wide this is, a 12-inch wide piece of black Magnum plastic, then you've got some serious mitts, and this doesn't really apply to you. For the rest of us mortals who are not used to holding things that are so big and black, you want to put your hand right in the middle of the handle if possible. I like to think about my middle finger and my thumb kind of being in the middle of the V handle here. These are the biggest, strongest fingers I got. It's the most coverage I can make. And my hands are just about 8 inches, and I can't really get that close in between there because my hands are also kind of chunky, just like the rest of me. It'd be funny looking if they were these like slender little wavy lily looking things, but they're not. Look like bear paws that have been shaved down and bleached. That's just who I am. So grab the middle of the handle, make sure you got some space on both sides here, visible. Middle finger in the middle of the V, as well as the thumb in the middle of the V. I think it gives you the best chance to lift the most weight. And then we'll get up into the setup. And now you get to see the better half of me, where my face is not involved. Okay, eyes up here, right? Nope, eyes down here. In your setup, we want to start with the hand directly in line down the shoulder. So my shoulder is here, hand comes down, which means I gotta step a little further away. And so my shoulder can now be over the center of the loading pin, rather than being here and fighting against the torque of the wrist and the bicep. I wanna be here. That way, if there's gonna be any additional torque on the wrist or bicep, I create and control that myself by having a bent arm. In other words, whichever hand you're lifting with, put the weight by that foot, so you have a better chance of coming straight up. And this other tip I learned from Ricardo Magni, he says to take this lead foot, next to the weight and bring it back. So now your shoulder's directly over the weight stack, your other foot is out of the way, a little bit of a split stance, and you can bring your hips to it close and bring it out, lock it out. Let's take our grip. I'm going to find the center of the handle. Now, some folks say, do you want to grab it here, kind of pronated or knuckles facing away, or do you like it kind of here in a neutral grip? Well, you know, anatomically, we're meant to have our hands hanging down by our side in a neutral position. I think this is a little stronger for us, but I am going to try to slightly bend my wrist and slightly bend my arm, because I would rather have this straighten out on the way up and still be supported by this joint than completely lose everything. Aren't you lucky? Another part of the video without my face in it. Eyes down here to the handle. You can just see the handle here in the bottom. I got my weight stack over by my foot. That's in line with my lifting arm. I have my big knuckles here. These guys, these kung fu knuckles, pointing straight down, which makes me have a little bit of a bend in the wrist, a little bit of a bend in the bicep. You're not going to tear your bicep. It's going to be fine. It's just going to get stronger and less prone to tearing. If you've already torn it, great. Maybe God hates you as much as he hates me and my tricep. So, shoulder pull back and down, just like a deadlift, a bench, or a squat. The non-lifting arm just kind of hangs out here. We're not bracing it on the thigh, maybe pulling it away from here. I like to do a weird thing with my fingers, like I have some kind of neurological thing going on. It's totally involuntary, like most neurological things are, but it's just who I am. So we're going to do a little bit of a flex in the wrist, bend the arm, keep the elbow close, turn the shoulder, lift, lock out, and back down. Now I can lift with my wrist straight and my elbow straight, my shoulder square. It's a little bit of a longer pull though, and it's a little harder. I can feel, even with 27 kilos on the bar, that's a lot harder to make that happen. So I want to avoid that by bending the arm a little bit, letting this bicep tendon do some work, bending the wrist, squeezing everything in, locking it in place. You can also do what I call EBAs, or extra bent arm lifts, where you have your wrist cocked to the maximum, your bicep flexed here, you're locked down further on the weight, and lift and come back down. Kind of like an isometric or a static hold while you're lifting the weight. After a few weeks of doing these one-arm deadlifts, you're going to feel your upper back get stronger and stronger, and your core muscles working harder. You're going to feel your ass firing hard on these lifts. But it does get kind of boring once in a while doing only one-arm deadlifts under Rolling Thunder. It's kind of made well for it. I mean, you have the weight evenly balanced on this V handle here. So what else can we do with it? It's got a carabiner. We can put it on anything that has a cable, a pulley, a band, hook it to a sled. I like doing lat pull downs with it, or seated rows on a pulley machine with it. There's so many things you can do. Anything you can pull with a regular handle, you can pull with a Rolling Thunder. I know earlier I said I was going to put a 6-week program for you in the bottom of the description there for the video for you to make the best gains possible, but I really think you're going to get a little more out of an 8-week program. Happy to do that. Check out the link. It's going to take you right to the Grip Guys website. Download the program and please tag Grip Guys on Instagram when you make mad gains. Again, this is the same program that I use and I developed with the help of Mr. Ricardo Magni to put 15 kilos on my Rolling Thunder over the course of about, I want to say 4 months, 4 to 5 months, which may not sound like a ton, 15 kilos over 4 months. That's pretty good for me, man. This is not like an event I excel at naturally. I've been stuck at 85 to 90 kilos for many years, just trying to max out all the time, trying to hit heavy singles, trying to do negatives with like 240, it wasn't working. So for me, what I recommend to you is start with sets of maybe 8 reps, doing a heavy set of 8 for the day, taking off 10%, and then doing 2 to 3 sets of 8 reps with that weight. Then take off 10% of that weight again, so now you're down to 80% of your 8 rep max, and do 2 to 3 sets of 8 reps with that. When that gets to be too much, I like to go down to 5 reps, and then back up a little bit. you want to leave a little bit of room in the tank every week for these things. So your 8 rep max really isn't the absolute most you can lift for 8 reps. It's a pretty damn heavy 8. It's not like a maximal, it's maybe like an RPE 9, 9.5, 9.314, and a bunch of numbers after pi. It's pretty hard though. You want to leave a little bit of gas in the tank. If you get to the point where that last set of 8 is just a max, you know, you can't get any heavier that day, and then you try again the next week for another set of 8, add a little bit more, at a half kilo more, and you get fucking slammed by it, take it off. You're done with 8s. No more 8s for you. 8s, you're gone. You've 86 the 8s. Now it's time for 5s. Take that same weight, do it for a set of heavy 5, then take 90% off of that. Do 2 to 3 sets of 5 reps with 90%. Take off 10 more percent, so you're at 80% of your 5 RM. Sorry if there's a lot of math going on. It's going to be all in that spreadsheet at the bottom of the comments. But hit as many drop sets as you can manage before your hands get all puffy and shit. A note about volume, you know, as I mentioned, I got some thicker hands, and even if you don't have all this Thanksgiving turkey leg action right here, look at that thenar, it's so beautiful. You know, if you don't have that, that's fine. You're still going to have muscles in your hands that are going to respond to higher volume. Sets of 6 to 12 reps fall in that hypertrophy range, which means you're going to get a pump. You're going to get a forearm pump, you're going to get a hand pump, because there's little muscles in there, and the ligaments, the tendons, the muscles are all going to swell a little bit, which means towards the end of your workout, you're not going to have much left in terms of gripping power and non-fatigue strength, and your hands are going to be a little bit puffier, so it's going to be harder to hold onto the handle, and then you're done. Shut it down, come back the next week when everything is recovered, the inflammation is taken care of. And by the way, if you haven't seen it already, go on to our channel on YouTube and look for the hand voodoo video on how to help with your recovery. It helped me so much, and it's going to help you too. So the program itself, start with heavy 8s, do a couple drop sets. Then when you feel recovered, try to improve on that heavy 8 from earlier in the week. You know, if you can, great, leave some in the tank. When you hit a wall, maybe the next week or the week after, go to heavy 5s, work up to a top set of 5, do some drop sets till you just can't do it no more. You know, this should all take about a half an hour to 45 minutes of your day if you want to specialize in just the Rolling Thunder for a little while. Next week or week after that, you're doing heavy sets of 4, then heavy 3s, and then you're getting into heavy 2s, and by the time you're into the heavy doubles, you know, at week 6 or 7, you're really getting close to those old PRs, or if you're like me, you're already a few kilos over your 1 rep max, hitting that for several doubles, and that feels so good. And then when you get into those maximal lifts, those heavy singles, those 1 rep maxes, you have to be a little careful with those, not because they can hurt you or anything, but it's just fun to time it so you hit that peak right at the exact moment. You don't burn out your neurological system. I think they call it the central nervous system, those doctors do, those crazy doctors. You don't burn out your CNS by trying heavy lifts for too long. But if you find you're hitting a heavy single, and you're like, oh, there's some more in the tank, come back in 2-3 days, hit a heavy single, try to improve it by a half kilo or a kilo, and do that until you just get fucking smashed again. And then guess what? Start the program back over again. Heavy 8s, drop sets, heavy 5s, drop sets, heavy 4s, heavy 3s, heavy 2s, and go from there. You can do that, I want to say, for the rest of your damn life and just get stronger and stronger. End up like Ode Haugen, who does 1,000 fucking inch dumbbell lifts on his birthday because he's 1,000 fucking years old. Love you, Ode. But why are you stronger than me? And you got Social Security coming in.